Hey, Guoba here, and he has just launched, and they've asked me to do a video on something I thought would be cool for new players, and so I thought I'd go through the launch roster and talk about what they do and why I think they're good or bad. I am not a theory crafter for this game, so don't expect perfection, but I hope some of my takes are good. But yeah, thanks to NT for sponsoring this video, and please make sure to check out the game right now on PC, iOS, Android, Mac, or PS5 using my link below. Thanks, and let's begin. Let's start with the A rank support characters. We have Adler, Haniel, and Edgar. Adler, first off, has a stylish, simple design, so +1 point from me, but his kit is neat too. He's a very quick in and out character that supplies a bunch of benefits at the same time. So little uptime and decent impact. For what he does, well, he can upgrade Scorch, which is a reaction between Chaos and Incantation, and lets it have very strong and rare debuff effects. He can also shield allies with his skill for sustaining purposes, and he can increase incantation damage. He is basically an incantation support, so he has a niche, but whether that's better than a universal support like Haniel is to be seen. Speaking of her, Haniel is the unit I had my eye on during the latest beta test, as she reminded me of those classic low rarity universal supports that might cling onto the meta for a long time like in other games. She grants the whole team an attack bonus and also has her own damage utility through her kit's ensemble attacks. But the attack buffs don't end there, as she can enhance the Nova reaction, so her Psyche attribute plus Chaos, to not only steal enemy attack, but give it to the team for even more buffing. She's a universal beast and you'll be using her a lot. Finally, we have Edgar, who is probably the most disappointing of the A ranks. He doesn't have utility like Adler, he's just a pure heal bot. So nice if you have skill issues, but dodging and parrying is key, and there are better units if you want survivability and actual utility on top. I guess he has some use in being a Cosmos character for any related reactions. Then we have the A rank DPS characters, Mint, Skia, and Aurelia. Since they are A rank, we'll eventually be able to max them all, which is nice, but they are also giving us a very strong and max dupe S rank DPS for free, so I'm not quite sure if we'll even use these three. But anyways, Aurelia has to get a bonus point for extra flair like Adler, as she is able to ride around on a jellyfish in the open world. Anyways, kit-wise, she is a very fast DPS that can go super speed and shoot blasts during combat. She's not very complex, you can just use this to kill stuff, but her ultimate at least has a small gather utility, and then her skill is AoE, so she should be okay into both types of content. Mint is the poster girl of the game and has a bunch of skins, so maybe she'll get better, but I'd say she's just another solid, low rarity DPS that won't see priority over anyone else, but can be fun to play. She's simple as the intended entry character to the game, and just dashes around a bunch. What's nice is she can reset her skill CD, which means she can be very mobile if an enemy keeps trying to hit you. Finally, we have Skia. He has a bit more thinking required, as you want to constantly apply his kit's mark, Fang Thrust, onto enemies. He has a neat Shadow Hand form, which gives him a lot of mobility like the other two, and his ult inflicts crowd control, which is a nice bit of bonus utility. He can deal damage, but maybe he should act as more of a sub DPS with his res down and access to the stain reaction, which can increase damage taken. Who knows? I'd say try out any of these three, but for me, I think I prefer Mint the most as a main DPS. She is anima, and there are a bunch of anima reaction enhancement supports and characters, so through team options alone, I reckon she'd win. But Aurelia is nice for AoE clearing with her ult utility, and Skia might see some use when you need crowd control and some support, but maybe more as a sub DPS for that. None of these will be topping the S ranks from my experience though. Anyways, it's S rank time. Let's start with the supportive two, Sakiri and Fadia. Fadia suffers from being another sustaining unit when I don't feel like it's really necessary, at least right now. She does so through damage redirection rather than shielding and can self-heal on ultimate. I'd say you could just use Adler instead, as he is a cheaper unit as an A rank. I guess her bonus is that she has some decent damage from her ult, but I think Adler's damage is okay too. She's not a high priority unit, but she's not useless if you're new, which everyone is. Sakiri, however, is one of the best units in the game, and if you play, you probably know that already. She also buffs attack like Haniel, but reduces enemy defense too, and if you're running a dot team, she goes even further beyond with dot taken increases when Scorch is applied to an enemy. But outside of dot, her universal debuffs and lack of field time necessary to keep them up make her slottable in so many teams, and so she's an awesome unit to start off with. For sub DPSC characters, we then have Ji Yuan, Daffodil, Zero, and Hathor. Starting with Daffodil, a very pretty and sleek design, bonus point. She's the only Chaos unit we have right now, which means if you want to do anything Chaos related, then she's mandatory right now. So it does mean for a Baichang team, for example, you ideally have her. She's also the only real character made for breaking the enemy, which is useful for survivability and damage, but that does mean she does want to be in a team about breaking. Because she has such a defined niche, she's amazing if you need exactly what she does, but otherwise, she's naturally quite restricted. I find her very fun with her quick swappy playstyle though, and I imagine she'll get much stronger when they drop more break-related characters. Hathor then has some amazing aura with a flaming bike on ult. Why does every game have a bike character these days? She's a high burst sub DPS character, but I feel like she can also be a main DPS, but anyways, she stacks up to a big bomber ultimate. With correct gameplay, she can do really well, but because it's semi-based on how enemies act, she can feel a bit unreliable. This, however, makes her amazing into AoE because you have a lot more chances to stack up to her ult. I think she's pretty good overall, but might need more synergistic characters to feel top tier. Zero is then our MC, and I think they're a great MC. As a Cosmos and sub DPS unit, they can slot into a lot of teams that want Cosmos-based reactions, so Hathor from before, but any of the many Blossom teams too, as well as any that want to interact with Charge. What makes them so good is that their skill has a cycle rate of 100, which means they can instantly cause an Esper cycle, which is how we cause all these reactions that I talk about during the video. This is the fastest cycling we can get and offers unrivaled utility, making them a really good and free slot in for two of the strongest teams in the game with Chiz and Nanali, whilst also being good for most DPS because Cosmos reacts in so many nice ways. It's a basic small part of a long line of words, and that's pretty much all that makes them top tier. Finally, we have Ji-Yuan, who is another top tier character, and combined with Zero, our MC, they form an amazing core duo. This means any team Zero is amazing in, Ji-Yuan can be too. She upgrades Blossom substantially, she does a whole ton of AoE damage with little field time needed, and she can gather on her skill, and she can heal. She just helps a ton for any anima-based main DPS, so Nanali again, but as a burst sub DPS with a nice kit, she can slot into so many teams. She can be a main DPS too in my opinion. Anyways, I really like her kit, and she seems the most useful among these four characters outside of maybe Zero. Then we finally have main DPS characters with Baichang, Chiz, and Nanali. Baichang gets a point for looking spiffing, but he also gets a point for being super fun to play with a high damage ceiling. He does high burst damage, but also consistent damage with his dot effects, and his kit seems pretty overloaded with gathering, healing, and strong AoE and single target. He kinda does it all, which may hurt him in the future, but that's okay. He also has an execute passive, which I think is awesome, and actually counters the part where he might get worse in the future, because if HP goes up, his execute gets stronger for his kit. Anyways, if you want a complex DPS that can serve well into a lot of content, he's an awesome pick. The only problem I'd say is that he wants Daffodil. We then have Chiz, an S-rank DPS we can get to max ascension, basically dupes, for free. This is part of the reason the A-rank DPS are underwhelming. We have this beast given to us at the start of the game. Now, she is complex with 50 different keywords in her kit, but that also gives her a high damage ceiling that could only let her get stronger and stronger as you master her team rotations with time. I still don't really know how to play her, but I know she slaps stuff pretty easily. She's one of the strongest DPS in the game for free, and there's not much else to say. And to end the video, we have our first limited character, Nanali. She's just as amazing as Chiz, but without all the optimization, and so if you need a simpler character to stomp content for you, then she's your girl. She's all about follow-up attacks, with lots of little attacks that stack up from Blossom or her passive, as well as coordinated attacks after ulting. She wants a lot of on-field time, but thanks to units like Zero and G1, who can come in and do their stuff real fast, that's not much of an issue. But our final bonus point goes to Nanali, as she can walk on walls. Who else can do something this cool? I'd say all three DPS are similarly strong, but Baichang and Chiz need more optimization than Nanali. Chiz and Nanali also seem to have more solid teams already, so I expect Baichang to get a bit stronger. Since Chiz is free though, you can chill with her. Anyways, I hope you liked my quick rundown of the characters. Again, I haven't run any calcs like I do in the games I cover fully, but I tried my best to test these guys out before and during launch. If you like the look of any of these characters and their gameplay, be sure to download NT now using my link below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a Guoba day.